Well, stop us if you've seen this before, folks. The Sharks lose 2 in a row at home against another bottom feeder. Although St. Louis wasn't a bottom feeder, that was probably the worst 2 periods of Sharks hockey I have seen in quite a while. With me, joining us from the tank, is Puck Guy himself and Mr. AJ Strong in the background, I believe. Guys, give us your reactions to the game from the tank.
It sucked loud and it sucked hard.
Back to you, Landy.
Well, if you want to be part of the show, please go ahead and use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark. This show is for the fans. It's for you guys to vent. We want to hear some comments. We want to hear some questions. We want to be able to field it and give our scalding pieces of shit to the Sharks tonight. And we're going to need some more fodder. So anybody, please tweet us. You can reach me at Eric Landy or at Ian Reed. We're driving the show tonight. And you can reach Puck Guy or AJ too, but probably a little bit harder. So as Ian shows his bottle of bleach, Ian, go ahead and show us what you're drinking tonight. Yes, that is bleach, ladies and gentlemen. He wants to kill himself. Okay, Puck Guy, back to you.
Oh, well, hi. I wasn't expecting that, but...
Dude, NHL ties left it halfway through the game, dude.
What's
It's already at the Fairmont.
I freaking knows her. Well, so much for meeting NHL ties. Oh, well.
I don't get that, dude.
Well, here, I'll break it down before AJ goes on his rant. They couldn't pass the puck. They couldn't catch the puck. They couldn't receive the puck. They didn't want to shoot the puck. In fact, they had a wonderful cycle going, and I must say that was a great cycle.
Let Mama drive home and you can finish on the way.
Well, I'm going to, but they couldn't pass the puck to save their life. They were cycling so great, and they ended up with an over. This is ridiculous. I mean, when you think that you would give them a chance to get the pucks on net, and I think it was out 7 to what was it at one time 7-1 in shots. Ridiculous to have that happen. It's ridiculous. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, this is a game again that Sharks should have had. You had another golden opportunity wasted because LA lost again. You had Anaheim lose to the Leafs in overtime. So congrats, Ducks. You clinched a playoff spot. Meanwhile, Arizona is, 5 in a row? I don't want to say let's get worried, but we might need to start to get worried with the next 2 games. So it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. These guys are playing down to their opponents' levels again, and the level of intensity in that third period was absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Back to you, Landy.
Yeah, so just kind of going over it, had the Sharks eked out some points against St. Louis, we would be in the playoffs right now. We wouldn't have this discussion. And if we won both games, we would be a point behind LA with a game to play against LA with the same number of games played.
AJ and I literally had just said that before we went on the air. If we won both games, we would have been right in the playoff chase and in the division chase with LA. And that LA game becomes huge. But no.
Well, like we said last show, status quo. You don't lose any, you don't win any. Well, you lose a point on the Ducks. But the status quo isn't good enough anymore, and not from Sharks fans. And you know what? You want to wonder why we have attendance problems. It's because of shit like this. And you put forth that kind of effort in the second period. You know what? It's no reason why people are flocking. It's a reason why people are flocking to the Golden State Warriors or to any other sports dollar, because at least they know they can get the job done. Not like these guys. Not right now, anyways. Oh, and then to add insult to the injury, you've got the injury that is Jonas Donskoy. We don't know what it is. Sorry, guys, I can't put on my doctor's hat because I don't know what it is. I didn't see it. I did see the the Carlson injury, and that was a puck or some kind of stick to the face. He did come back to the game, so probably just getting stitched up. But Donskoy, I have no idea what's going on with him. And, that's going to be big trouble if he can't come and play during the playoffs. But I don't think it's going to be that big a deal.
It's going to be a huge deal. I didn't notice that Donskoy wasn't out there late in the game. But, I mean, oh my God.
He played 8 minutes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's one thing after another. We're getting the injury bug at the absolute wrong time. Tennis is still iffy, but...
Okay, we're getting from the chat, thank you, Lurban Tintila. He said, announcer said Donskoy got hit with the puck and it wasn't serious. He said it was a checkup, so he's probably in the quiet room, doing the whole post-concussion or concussion protocol deal. So that's good to know. I posted this on Twitter. Where the hell was the leadership tonight? Where was that fiery speech from Pavelski in the period, dropping those F-bombs and telling him this is the Edmonton effing Oilers? Edmonton. And you had the lead. You pissed it away. You had to score 2 goals they had to score 2 goals to tie, and then you had the extra goal which gave them the lead. Then the Sharks tied it up, and then give a 2-on-1, just a hellacious 2-on-1 at the end of that second period. And instead of escaping the second period tied, they escaped down 1-0. They escaped 3-4. And come back in the third period, and it's more of the same shit. Not getting near as enough rubber on the net, not getting any kind of distractions in front of the goalie. It was just they let their foot off the gas, and they let Edmonton dictate the game. Let me say that again. They let Edmonton dictate the game. I've not done enough pissing and moaning. It's your turn to piss and moan.
I'm just here because I'm contractually obligated to be here at this point. Look, this game was awful, obviously, and yeah, it's amazing how quickly things can turn around in a hockey game. I mean, we got off to that start, and everyone's like, "Oh, look, Haley punched faces, and now we're winning," and amazingly how that just stopped after we started losing, and that whole narrative went away because it was lazy. I mean, you know what? I understand why you brought Haley into the lineup. I mean, Pollock can't fight Nurse because of his nose. Otherwise, he would have taken care of his own business. And then I guess you don't want to risk suspension, or you don't want Brent Burns or Dylan or someone to break their hand, heaven forbid. But at the same time, if you're going to bring him up, then play him. You had Carlson miss significant amount of time. You have frickin' Donskoy miss 8 minutes of time, and yet somehow Haley only still manages to draw into the lineup for 5 minutes of the night, and then people are like, well, the Sharks look tired. Well, no shit, they look tired. You got a guy playing 5 bloody minutes because you had to call him up so he could punch a few faces. Big deal. This old school bullshit mentality needs to go away.
No, I agree. At first, when you had the fight or whatever, it's like, okay, he's done, it's done. We can leave it alone, not that big of a deal. But you know what? You just bring a boatload of issues when you dress a guy like Haley and you don't play him. I mean, had Haley played 10 minutes, I don't know how bad it would have been. He didn't look outclassed on the ice too much, not in my eyes at least. But instead, what you do, you roll the dice and you double shift guys, you double shift Couture, you double shift Wingles, and you burn them out. I tell you what, though, the Shark that really stood out for me, or stood out as being kind of victimized and not playing a good game, was Marleau again. Even though he got the goal, he was victimized by the Edmonton Oilers. He got the puck stolen from him, and really it was not a good game for him. He wasn't hustling on the ice. I mean, what's new? Hurdle didn't look like he had that great of a game tonight. Pavelski didn't look like he had that great of a game tonight. I liked Jumbo. I liked what he was doing. I liked his speed. He left a couple of drop passes I didn't like tonight, but it just seemed like after 2 goals, they thought, okay, this one's going to be in the bag, guys. You know what? We don't have to worry about it. Let's coast.
I got a question for you, Landy. So
Yeah.
2 defensemen were either even or in the positive for plus minus tonight. Name them.
I'm gonna go with, let's say, my doppelganger Dylan DeMello, and I think Braun was on there for a goal again. Let's say something stupid like Brendan Dillon.
Brendan Dillon was +1 and Roman Polak was even. Everyone else was -2 or worse.
What was DeMello?
-2.
-2.
-4 for Mr. Burns.
-4. Yeah, Burns didn't look great tonight. I mean, he had some really rocket shots, but his defense was suspect, especially on that 2-on-1. Oh my God! If there was ever a time to do a Burnsy slide, that was it. Like, I don't advocate for Burnsy slides because they take you out of the play. But if you've got that big of a gap on a 2-on-1, you've got to do something. Something to play against that pass. He didn't do anything to play against the man that was passing it or the pass. You're supposed to take one or the other. He didn't do that, and the goalie therefore had to play it like, I got hung out to dry. Basically had to play it like a 2-on-0. He did nothing. He didn't make himself big. Didn't take anybody out of the play. It just ridiculous. And Lurman, I know that Marlowe scored, but that victimization on that goal from Edmonton, that's a bunch of kids showing up a veteran who should know what to do with the puck and place the puck better than what he did tonight. He was not making great reads at all.
That line
tonight.
was terrible too. Marlowe, Kearney, Ward was awful tonight.
Yeah, no, Ward was not good either. And you know what? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
he had a maintenance day yesterday, and I believe Kerr said he didn't do the morning skate, and even my mom noticed that he just wasn't moving as freewheeling as he usually does. Yeah, he seemed very stiff, and his play looked very gingerly too. He was having tough with some passes and stuff.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he's injured or he's working through an injury right now.
Working through something. Well, and that's what surprised me too, because when I thought when you're going to take someone out of the lineup, but when Haley was coming up, I remember when we were talking this morning when we were talking about the game day. I thought that Haley was up because Ward was out, which would have made a ton of sense. I didn't expect Zuby to get pulled out of the lineup, and which really kind of surprised me because I don't really think Zuby's been bad at all. Like I don't know what he did to get yanked out of the lineup, and I don't know.
No, I think this was strictly that old school. We got to fight him because that's the code or whatever. And you know what? I mean, to be quite honest, I'm glad that they fought him, only because the kid needs to know that you can't just do that and not be held accountable. Now, how much of the accountability is going to be that 3-game suspension versus getting a fight? I don't know. I mean, it's probably the fight was an afterthought because Haley really, I mean, he threw a couple of really good punches, but that was about it. He didn't. He didn't.
It wasn't like he didn't destroy Nurse. Like I know I saw like people like, oh man, Nurse got destroyed. I'm like, not really.
No, I mean he didn't pop his nose. He didn't hurt his jaw any. So it wasn't.
Did you do laundry again?
I've got my laundry basket right there with laundry in it, but yeah, I did pick up a little bit. Going to the chat, Felix, no, I don't ever punch a hole in the wall, but I have thrown a hat at a fan once. It was because of one Marty Havlat making a really stupid ass pass, and then it led to a 2-on-0. So I have busted a hat and a fan before.
Nice.
I'm more of a yeller though, and look like I don't talk to me when I'm super pissed or whatever, and I got my eyes bulging out, and I give myself migraines because of that. So that's what I do.
Speaking on that, I'm surprised you guys don't have like a mini stick and then just like slash pillows.
Yeah, no.
That seems to work really good therapy for me.
Yeah. Matthew York saying game was so piss poor, Landy did his laundry. Yeah, well, stranger things. Maybe it's the laundry. Maybe I need to put the laundry back out, and the Sharks are getting the bad juju because of the laundry not being out, or maybe it's my
I think if the
beard.
Kings and Ducks stop losing, then the pressure will be off, and then the Sharks can win again.
Yeah,
Then they won't gain any points, and they won't freak out.
Chester Chivo asks, what is the Sharks' record when Landy does his laundry? I don't know,
That's
Chester.
detailed stats presented by SAP.
But boys, the Sharks, lo and behold, go under 500 at home again. What the hell is going on with this team at home? I mean, we said, it was the long road trips. That's why they haven't been doing so well. Like, it was this or it was that. AJ, do you want to tell us why these guys are sucking so bad at home?
I don't know, comfort level. They're getting laid too often. I have no idea. I don't get it. When they were up 2-0, I very much felt like, they got St. Louis out of their heads. They understood. And so now they're going to get shit done because, hello, playoff on the line. Let's get it done. And after they got that, after they went up 2-0, they kind of had that attitude of, yeah, we got this, and no, you don't.
Are the playoffs really on the line, though? I mean, the Sharks clinched by the Coyotes losing. It's mathematical at this point. The playoffs aren't on the line. It's just stupid formality.
Guys, quick chime in from Drew Remenda himself. Lairbon Tintiel says, Remenda said, but when you call up a guy from the minor leagues to fight a 21-year-old kid, I think you've got to re-examine your values. What do you guys think?
I absolutely agree with that. A couple or last week or whatever it was, Ian and I were discussing the idea of, I think it was about the Reeves hit, and Ian and I both had the same idea of, it was just a case of the Sharks have never been a team that looks for retribution. They're not a team that takes a number. So,
does anybody, though, really in this day and age?
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe on the East Coast, but
Philly?
Either way, but I'm talking about even going back the last 15 seasons. It's the Sharks have never been we're going to take that number and get you back later kind of team. So, honestly, the fact that they called up Haley and dressed his ass and put him out there, and then ended up having him go after Nurse within the first 5 or 6 minutes, shocked the hell out of me. Now, if the Sharks were up, like, by 3 goals with 10 minutes left in the third, okay, then I could see it maybe happening. The fact that it happened that early, and the fact that they brought Haley in clearly just for that seemed very... kind of beer league to me, to be honest with you. I didn't expect it, and I really didn't know why. If it's 2 teams that are battling for playoffs, maybe, or 2 teams that are out of it, but you've got one team that is securely in a playoff spot just trying to fight for position versus another team that hasn't had a hope for a playoff look in the last month.
No, I totally agree, and I there's no defeating that logic. The shitty thing was that this team decided to step up for Roman Polak. He was a recent addition because, Polak couldn't step up for himself. But where was this when Tomas Hertl got knee on knee with Dustin Brown? Where was the retribution from the Sharks for a player who means much more to their franchise and much more to their future than Roman Polak? So
Landy,
it's like
Landy. Who was the coach when Hertl took that knee?
Todd McClellan.
And there you go. Who's the coach now? I honestly, I think PDB has a little more, kind of he's a little bit more of a retribution kind of guy. If PDB was the coach when that shit versus Dustin Brown on Hertl happened, you might have seen a little more happen as a cause. To me, it does feel like DeBoer has kind of rallied the troops a bit more than T-Mac. I mean, am I wrong in that? It just feels like it.
No,
I
no,
don't
you're.
think so. I don't think so though. Hear me out for a second.
Okay.
Because if you're
Oh
talking,
no, he's Canadian. Fuck hearing him out.
oh for fuck's sakes! All right, listen. The thing is, though, is that was in the playoffs, and you're not going to just dress a bunch of goons in a playoff game, especially against a team like LA. I don't care if you're Peter DeBoer,
Hold
Todd
on.
McClellan,
No, before
or
you go on the
Scotty
diatribe,
Bowman.
before you go on the diatribe, the hurdle knee on knee was halfway during the season, and they had
Yeah, that
games.
was- wasn't even halfway.
I'm sorry, I was thinking in the playoffs, but you're right.
No, and
No,
and
I was going to say that wasn't even halfway through the season. That was like a third through the season.
Well, then
I
I,
mean,
don't know
I
what
know-
I'm talking about.
I mean, I know that we know. I know that Dustin Brown has done a lot of this shit in his career, and he's done a lot of this shit during the playoffs. So I don't blame you for it. You know, don't blame you for missing this stuff. But therein lies the problem. Like, where the hell has this been for years? And now they decide they're going to be this retribution kind of team.
Dude, really?
Well, because they had to shut up the media, because like guys like Kersey and everyone else are all over them for not.
Yeah,
being
that's why you need Mike Brown, right, for grit.
right.
Yeah. So it's just it's mind-boggling.
Dude, let's be honest. This team has never had a take a number mentality since Darryl Sutter. Now, back in the days, if you look at those games when Sutter was the bench boss, and you had guys like Nolan and Scott Thornton and Mike Ricci, those were guys that would take a number. But then again, not as much talent back then. But it was the fact that, and I know we've talked about this before, that was back in the day, that 2000 squad, you might beat them, but you're going to feel that game for the next two games that you play after it, because the Sharks are going to let you know that even that you might have beaten us on the clock, you're not going to get into our heads, and you're going to feel this game. And the Sharks haven't had that type of mentality in an awful long time, since Sutter.
That was a different era of hockey too.
It was. I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin Kurz on Donskoy. I don't know yet. We'll know in the morning. Peter DeBoer. So I know that we did say he got some kind of puck in the head. I'm wondering if we're thinking about Carlson and not Donskoy. But I'm not even sure at this point. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on here.
See, that's what's going to drive me crazy, man. That is going to drive me batshit crazy. The fact that it took us so long for us to have a healthy squad, to try to get Logan back and everything, and then we rolled for like 3 or 4 weeks. Everybody cool, everybody fine, got Spaulding and Pollock some insurance, and now, boom, all of a sudden the injury bug. It was like Vlasic, just getting back Wingos, but Vlasic, now potentially Donskoy. It's like, shit, this is what we do not need in the playoffs.
Yeah, just to go to the chat for a second, because they're talking about Reimer now. I don't put this on Reimer at all. I think there was
his
one
defense.
goal in there. I thought the third goal, he probably should have had that one for sure, and I didn't like it at all. But those guys were sleepwalking in front of him, as has been said in the chat. It wasn't Reimer's fault. I think they should have.
Totally.
I think they should have put Jones in the third to try and see if they could spark something, but.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, what else are you gonna do? I mean, the guy's been lights out for you. It's pissing me off. It really is. I mean, the fact that we've reverted back to Sharks of the last 10 years, where they just can't put away lesser opponents. It's ridiculous.
Well, it comes down to the fact it's like, I mean, we can go back to that Winnipeg game on January 2nd, and we talked about it like a week or so ago when they lost to New Jersey. It's like, how many fucking wake-up calls do you guys need?
Yeah, we've been saying that for years, though, and that's the worst part.
No, and then like I said, where's the captain in this? Where's Joe Pavelski leading by example, going to score a fucking goal to tie the game up? There's my one F-bomb of the night, by the way. I'm sticking to
I mean, you can't. I'm not going to put all this on Pavelski's shoulders, and we don't know what he was saying in the dressing room during the intermissions, and maybe he was jumping on him, maybe he wasn't. I mean, this is just a case of it was just a piss poor defensive effort tonight. You had guys out of position. You had, as you said, guys sleepwalking, and I saw it tonight. When Marlowe got the goal, I was like, almost like, who? Is that a call-up? I mean, it's been goddamn long since I mean, granted, he's kind of been like pretty much defensively stalwart for the most part, but still, you got to be that guy who can like come in and take the bull by the horns when it needs it, and this is the night when it needed it. And once again, Marlowe, for the most part, aside from that cheap goal, nowhere to be found. A lot of the guys kind of like, where the hell were you guys tonight? There was a lot of just cheap defensive efforts, and that's the thing that gets on my nerves. If you've got good defense going and they somehow sneak by you and they pick up a lucky goal, okay, fine. But tonight was cheap. That's the best way I can describe it tonight. It was a cheap effort.
Guys, Keith to the City on Twitter, at Keith to the City, who was at the game tonight, saw Donskoy head into the hall. Looked like he was shaking something off, and then he said he stayed in the tunnel for a little while, thought it was more equipment related than anything else. So, you know what, I don't think the Donskoy injury is going to be that big of a deal. But, then again, he'll come back tomorrow and tell me he's got a blown ACL. So, but, if that comforts anybody, he was kind of walking around and trying to push through it. So. Mr. Strong is at home. AJ, you want to go ahead and set up at your computer and call us back in?
Okay, sure. Yeah, give me 5 minutes, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, AJ Strong. But yeah, I mean, cheap, piss poor, lack of effort, lackadaisical, lazy. You know what? I don't know what else how else you can skin this cat. We've seen this again and again. We thought that this was an issue that had gotten fixed, and the Sharks just let their foot off the gas. They had them by the balls in the first period. They could have easily been up 3-0, and they just let them walk. They don't let them walk free.
Yeah.
Eric, I mean, is there anything you want to add?
Other than some cool music.
Sorry, I had it on mute. I was getting texts because I'm going to give a shout out to Christina Berlini on. She also noticed Carlson went into the locker room, and granted, he did end up finishing the game, but he also went to the locker room. I don't know if it was equipment or
no, that was a puck to the face. I think it was a puck to
the face.
Yeah.
So him and Donskoy took pucks to the face.
That's what somebody had told me, that they saw Donskoy took a puck to the face. I can't confirm or deny that because I did not see it. I did see Donskoy, or I did see Carlson's, but I didn't see Donskoy's.
Okay. Yeah. So. Carlson had gone into the locker room, so Christina, thank you, and happy early birthday as well. But guys, you guys hit it right on the head. They're playing piss poor at the worst time. You're now down Vlasic, Tennyson, Nieto, Ward's having issues, maybe Donskoy now. I mean, this is the absolute worst time for them to get injuries. So... But this is where your solid minor league system would come into play. If somebody else is out, who do you bring up?
There's a Barclay Goodrow who is tearing it up in the AHL right now.
It's not coming up.
I think you'd have the majority of Sharks fans say that they want him up, but will he get up? I don't think. I don't know. Probably not, from what Ian's saying. I mean, you could go with Haley. There's probably what they would do.
Yeah, they're going to bring up Haley, and then, whatever. Zuby will obviously draw back into the lineup. Haley will stay by default, and the song remains the same.
No, I totally agree.
And
there's
yeah,
no.
Goodrow's injured too. That's another thing.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's. I don't think that they have the courage to call up a Goldobin. I mean, I don't think they have the faith. Sorry, not courage, but the faith to call him up. Who else? Who else do we got down there of note? I mean,
yeah, I don't know who else. I mean, unless you bring up Blurg, just because he's been up before. You bring up
true.
John McCarthy.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
That's big John McCarthy.
I'm just thinking of guys that have been up with the Sharks already, because I don't think you want to bring in. Why is my mind going blank?
Goldobin?
Right now?
You're not going to bring in Goldobin.
No, they're too concerned about the defense for him. But I mean, maybe Carpenter. I'm not. I mean, I don't know what else he could do, but Goodrow, I think, out of anybody, I would think Goodrow deserves a shot. It all depends on what they extend it. Maybe I just thought of it. Maybe it happens on what happens with the extent of the injury or injuries, and go from there. Because maybe if it's longer term, maybe you do bring Goldobin up to see if he can put some offensive spark into this club, or some creativity.
I mean, I think maybe there is one guy that we've kind of all forgotten about, and he was kind of a side piece of one of the trades, but Jeremy Morin. I mean, he's played with the Blackhawks before. He's had a few games there. He's had a few games
with the Leafs.
With the Leafs, yep. So at least he kind of knows what the speed of the NHL game is like. So that could be an option. But right now, things don't look so great. And
Sorry, it's something else. Just to clarify something. So the story with Vlasic, because I've seen it come up in the chat a couple of times and I haven't been able to get to it. Vlasic, the soonest we probably see Vlasic is when we visit Vancouver next, which is what, next weekend?
Yep.
No, next Tuesday.
This Tuesday.
Dude, it's like in
Sorry.
5 days.
Yeah, so that's probably the soonest we could see Vlasic. I'm not saying that's when he comes back, but that's the soonest we'll see him, based on the timeline that the Sharks gave us already.
Yeah, so the timeline originally after the Coyotes game was a week to 10 days. I mean, DeBoer said it was day to day. He said it was probably looking more like a week to 10 days. He said it wasn't going to be long term. It's nothing major from what he said, but who knows what he says, what he means when he says that. It could be some kind of hip flexor. It could be some kind of muscle strain. Who knows?
You're not going to tip your hand and tell people where to hit your best defenseman when he comes back into the lineup.
Exactly, but let's say it wasn't a tickle if it's got more than 10 days, attached to the injury. So, I think that's kind of what you're looking at. I think you're looking at either that Vancouver game, if they're being super optimistic, it could be later than that. It could be the next time the Sharks lace up at home.
Well, and we're talking, the playoff is a lock, so at this point, and let's be honest, the position is just about a lock. Why even rush Vlasic back?
No, I completely agree with that.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Let him take his sweet merry time to come back and be 100%. We know what the Sharks' road record is, so if they end up being third, fine. I don't have a problem with that. Playoffs are locked in, so. If that's the case, fine.
I mean, they're okay. To be fair, they have not clinched a spot yet, but it's all but guaranteed at this point. But I mean, do we need to be worried about the way that they're playing right now? I mean, do we need to worry that this is the Sharks team that we'll see in the first round, and if they play anything like this, they'll get bounced?
The thing here is what worries us, that they're getting back into their old plan, which is they get up for Washington, they get up for Boston, and then they have a piss poor performance to like Buffalo and Edmonton, It's just ridiculous how they can't get up for a low ball team, and
But
we've
the
dealt
Ducks or
with this
Kings aren't
year
a low
after
ball
year.
team, so we're good.
What's that?
I said the Ducks or Kings aren't a low ball team, so we're good.
Yeah, exactly. It's that idea of like, well, okay, well, the Sharks are really good at getting geared up to play good teams. Well, that's all you're going to see once the playoffs start. So maybe that comes into their favor. I do want to say, now that I'm like locked in at home and and I'm all good. The first time ever, and I know nobody watching gives a flying crap about this. First time ever, I can raise my hand and said, in person, I have met Puck Mom, and she is fucking awesome. Puck Mom is badass. I just had to put that out there.
Okay, so guys, I'm trying to look through the video here. Donskoy didn't come out for the third period, correct?
That's right. He played.
Okay.
He played only 8 minutes of the game. He left in the second period. Didn't return for the rest of the game.
Okay. All right. Do we know whereabouts he stopped playing? Was it halfway through the second, or a little more, or a little less than that?
I don't know. He had 8 minutes, so I'm assuming
Pretty
half,
early. Yeah, pretty early.
early mid second period.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
Cody. Yes, I'm just answering. Yes, Cody.
Yeah, 7 minutes in is what. And that sounds about right to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm scanning through the video right now, so I'll let you guys. Oh, okay, I see him. Okay, he's playing 13:35 in the second. Let's see. I think this might be his last shift. Okay, looking okay. He's kind of gliding into the zone.
Well, now, see, I came into this shit late, so it's like, who did we scratch to bring Haley into the mix tonight?
Zubris.
Well, okay, so Zubris is and is it just me? Honestly, things, you might be able to pick up different idiosyncrasies when you're watching on TV versus being there live. Did Wingles have kind of a shitty game tonight? Because that's what it felt like live. But on TV, it might have been different, but I don't know. I wasn't impressed with Wingles' game tonight, and it almost felt like maybe he should have worked on getting better a little longer.
Well, I mean, I feel like it was pretty much a team of unremarkable performances tonight.
It was.
My thinking too, and we saw this when PDB coached New Jersey, was that he wanted to send a message to another team when there was an issue. I think it was with the Rangers, and we had that game-starting brawl on like NBCSN and everything. That's fine to settle the score and everything, but you have to.
You settle that score in the third period when you're up by 3 or 4 goals.
Exactly. You don't settle it 8 minutes into the game where it's still 0-0.
Yep.
And there'll be all those. All right. Well, we got the goal right after that, and it would have been great if it was Polak's first as a Shark. But my point is that it's the same thing. I'm concerned about the psyche with PDB in the sense that, we just randomly throw challenges anywhere, and I think he's been a lot better since that blow up a few games ago. But to bring up Haley to settle the score with Nurse, okay, that's fine and dandy. But here's the thing: what if Nurse just completely destroyed Haley? What's that going to do? Then we bring out Haley again to start crap up, and then we're just getting our game thrown off because of a fight and everything. I understand why they did it, and maybe in game number 55, that's fine. But you still haven't clinched the playoff spot. It's game 74. If your head is on straight, you're playing for the division, not playing to settle a score against the 28th best team in the league.
Especially when you take into account that all the pregame talk,
Guys,
the interviews and everything that was going on, is that McClellan was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know that there's a lot there. DeBoer is talking about, yeah, it's like and the interviews you heard with Couture, Pavelski, where it's like kind of like, no, that was something that happened in the game. They've seen the replay. He lost an edge. It was and it was just a case of, yeah, there should be nothing about this. Like, he got a suspension, he used it, it was over, we're moving on. And so the fact that it was all this we're moving on talk, and then 8 minutes in, boom, and it's like, really?
Well, you knew it was going to happen. The second they scratched Zobrist to send Haley into the lineup.
I mean, it's like, what was the point? What was the point?
Okay.
Game 34, sure. Game 74, when one of the teams is completely out of it?
I'm almost happy they lost this game because you know what I don't want to listen to? I didn't want to listen to a week of, oh man, they put Haley in and Haley dropped the gloves with Nurse and that was the momentum changer and that's why the Sharks won. I'm glad they fucking lost with pulling that shit.
Yeah,
grit.
Yeah.
Hashtag grit. Hashtag
grit.
Grit.
I think Ian brings up a great point. I think, had they done this, maybe they couldn't find issues with their game. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise because maybe this gives Peter DeBoer the motivation to rip his guys a new asshole. And really need to break down their game and say, look at what we're doing against these kinds of teams. We're not going to win games this way. We're not going to win playoff games when shit is on the line.
Hopefully it's a case of Winnipeg Part 2.
Yeah, maybe that's
so.
it.
Hopefully this is a wake-up call for them.
But I was going to tell you guys, 1825, around that time, Donskoy takes an elbow to the head, and then he tries to shake it off. So he kind of rubs his face a little bit and rubs his helmet. So maybe something with that?
And that would make sense if Donskoy had to go into the
quiet room because he's not.
So Dr. Landy strikes again, maybe.
Well, you know what? Eight games left, boys. 5 of the next 8 are at home. We clearly have to do something to fix this goddamn home record. Can you imagine if they were just not even playing 500, if they were playing 600 at home, which isn't a huge difference, that's like another 3 or 4 more games. Booyah, they're
leading the division.
Yeah, they're leading the division by like 2-3 points over LA at this point, and you have a game coming up against LA. So they really just kind of. How do you not take advantage of all these home games? It's just it's mind-numbing.
Somebody was asking, was the hit intentional? It didn't look like it. It's just kind of it kind of looked like he was going into the boards for a puck, and then one of the Oilers players was moving his stick to try and jostle the puck out of the scrum, and then his elbow kind of hit him up high a little bit. It's not suspendable or anything like that. It's a traditional hockey play. I had no problem with the hit. But Torres just got suspended 41 games from his couch. Back to Andy.
Yeah.
But that's what I saw. Again, it could have been somebody else was saying that Donkey and somebody else ran into each other earlier in the first, and maybe he was maybe a little shaken up because of that. I mean I don't know, but I'm just pulling up what I'm seeing right now, and he skated after that a little bit, but maybe that's what it was.
Well, on the aside from that, have you ever seen what a Sharks drink coaster looks like? This is kind of cool, dude. I'll be honest with you.
That is pretty cool.
Nice hard wood with a big chomp taken out of it. It's a nice drink coaster tonight. That was the if you bought the right ticket kind of thing. It's I'm one of those first guys that sits there and goes. You know what? I'm not buying a ticket because of the goddamn giveaway, but I might have bought a ticket because of the giveaway. That's a pretty nice fucking drink coaster, man.
Well, you know what? Maybe the Sharks should spend less money on fucking promotions and more money on fixing their audio system.
Oh, okay. So I'm so happy you brought
segue.
That up. I'm so happy you brought that up. So tonight, oh my God, you are a fucking segue king. So tonight, at the beginning of the night, before the game even started, I've been in the tank for maybe 10 minutes. I ran into Danny Miller. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, Danny Miller is the guy who was the voiceover, the PA guy who, when somebody scores, you hear him, Sharks goal, number 57, Tommy Wingles, assisted by, he's the guy who calls all that stuff. And I used to work with him 20 years ago at a nightclub. It's a long story. I won't get into it. But I talked to him tonight, and we were talking about the goal song thing, and he was completely unaware of the speaker issues. And I was telling him, I'm like, you need to sit out there or have somebody sit out there and listen. There are speakers that are literally not working. They're out of phase. Something is wrong seriously with the speakers. And he even told me, he goes, I've noticed like over the last couple of years that things don't sound like they used to. So we had that discussion. I don't know if that will lead to anything on his end. I'm sure he'll, maybe say something to somebody, and then we'll see if anything takes. But then tonight, the goal songs. Oh my God! I was sitting third row in 210, so just behind the goal that the Sharks shoot at twice. When the Sharks scored their first goal and they rolled out Van Halen, literally people everywhere around me were straining to hear the song. Nobody can figure out it wasn't even a case of like trying to figure out where to do the hey part. It like people like didn't know how to. Everybody, it was just like fucking 5 sections of Helen Keller's. Like everybody's just like, I'll just clap here when it feels good, because you could not hear anything on the Van Halen song. But from what I heard on the other side of the tank, it sounded actually pretty good, which just goes to show you that the speakers aren't working, they're out of phase, or they're not set up correctly in stereo. Then when they scored the second goal and they played 2 Unlimited, it wasn't much better. I mean, it was a scotch better, but only because there's a lot more mid-range stuff in Van Halen, whereas the 2 Unlimited track, it's just a lot of high end and a lot of low end. But,
Yeah,
oh
no,
my
but,
God,
I mean,
you could not hear dick tonight. 6 a.m.'s Let's Go sounded far better than anything that they've played so far. It was god-awful, and even Chester chiming in on Twitter, Van Halen sounded terrible on TV. It was god-awful.
I mean, I heard
Yeah,
I heard the thump of Van Halen over my surround sound more than Let's Get Ready for This, because Let's Get Ready for This sounded like tinny.
Oh, it was awful. And Laurel, our loyal viewer, Laurel, love you, Laurel. She's asking, what side do Randy and Jamie sit on? They actually sit on polar opposites when they're at the tank. Jamie sits behind, on the bench section, center ice, section 101. He's on one side. Randy is on the other side, 115, but all the way up in the rafters. So you are literally talking about 2 different perspectives. Like one right on the ice, center ice, and then the other guy on center ice on the opposite side, but all the way up in the rafters. But just wanted to answer her question.
Yeah, to kind of go on the speaker thing really quick, there are speakers that are aimed for the upper bowl sections, and it's, I would say, not even 10, 15 feet where I was, and I was sitting in section 210, row 12, and they're not working at all.
Nope.
At all. And you can barely make out Van Halen. I mean, you can hear 2 Unlimited a little bit better, but still, it's just did not look or feel right. And that's a sad thing. The scary thing, though, AJ, is that they're not aware of it. I mean, yikes.
Well, and that's the whole thing.
Not be aware of that.
That's the whole thing. It's like I explained it to Danny Miller. I've said it to other people, Sharks people that I've talked to, where it's just like, what the hell is going on with your speaker system? I'm sitting in 210 where there's the speaker array at center ice that is clearly set up for the people in the lower bowl. That's actually what I'm able to hear. And I see, and I look up above me, and I see speakers that are geared for like the 10th row and above. I should be able to at least hear a little bit of bleed off of that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I don't know if like the speakers in the upper bowl are just turned off, if they're broken, if they're not wired correctly, but oh my God. It's bad, man. Fix that before you try to get a new goal song.
Yeah, no, or spend all this money on promotions. I mean, look, I it just seems gimmicky, guys, and it just seems like they're not hearing us out when we say the reason the attendance is bad is one is the product on the ice at home, and two, this ridiculous ridiculous setup with the payment plans for season tickets and for how they're screwing over people. Let's not open this can of worms. I'm gonna stuff it back in before it goes everywhere.
Oh,
Good call.
Landy, you poked the bear, Landy.
No,
But
I mean,
Laurel, you know what? Laurel pointing out a great thing. She could hear the organ, and you know what? I can hear the organ really well. But once again, that goes into an effect of it just has to do with the kilohertz that you're at. The organ is very mid-range, and it cuts through a lot of the BS. And you don't have any low end, you don't have really any high end. It's very just kind of like it's in a very small spectrum when it comes to the EQ, and it reflects easily.
And
so,
it travels better.
Yeah, and it does. But you try to put a song in there. I mean, honestly, even the warm up music tonight, I noticed when I was in there, even the warm up music sounded at a lower volume than normal. Like you can hear it, but it's like it's not hitting you like it normally does. I don't know what it is with the tank, and I have no idea what is precluding them from going around and testing every one of these speakers. I mean, how hard is it to get a fucking sound guy in there to test shit? It's not that difficult. Fuck, I'll fucking do it tomorrow for free. I've done this before. I know what I'm doing.
Frequency doesn't equate to amplitude. No, that is correct.
Yes.
However, low frequency and mid-range frequency is because I'm an RF engineer by trade, so it propagates better, right? It goes through walls and it propagates better. High frequency tends to bounce off things. So if let's say you're in the upper bowl at the very top, you're probably getting reflections from the ice and from the lower bowl coming at you. If you're kind of in the center of either the lower bowl at the very top or the lower end of the second bowl, you're probably going to miss some of that.
Well, let's be honest, dude. When you're next to the Mexican asshole in the lowered Chevy next to you, who's got the sound system kicked up, what is pissing you off? Is it the mid-range or is it the low end?
No,
it's the goddamn low end. And you know what? At the Shark Tank, there's really hardly any low end. There's just nothing that fills out the spectrum. And like I said, it's that, and it's the fact that there are clearly speakers that are not turned on or they're broken or whatever it is. Either way, fix the. I'm telling you right now, there is nothing wrong with the 6 a.m. song. If the speakers worked, you'd be fine. I was at Patty's before the game. Somebody played 6 a.m. Let's Go, the goal song up until tonight. Somebody played it at the bar. You had 30 Sharks fans inside Patty's that all knew when to say hey, and they all did it. And the reason being is because at Patty's, you could hear it. Just saying.
No, I totally agree. I think, I think it sounds muffled when they do get the volume right, or that you don't even hear it at all. And most of the time, I feel like we haven't been hearing it at all.
Yeah.
I think I think there's multiple issues with this team. I think that tonight.
Can we get Hasso to sell the team to Panasonic or something so we have good sound?
Bose, right?
But no, Bose actually is not that great. They have good car systems. Other than that, house, everything. No, Bose sucks. No, just sell it to Panasonic.
Oh, what the heck? Let's get Dr. Dre to buy the team with his Beats.
Oh no, Beats are almost as worse as Bose. They're almost as worse.
I think they're worse than Bose in my opinion.
They might be, yeah.
Well, anyhow, this is not Music Central with Eric and AJ. I wish it was at some time, but uh, I mean, where else? What else do we do? What else do we break down on this game? I think it was just such a poor effort, and
And you know what? You say that, and boom, my Twitter feed gets a quote from Peter DeBoer. For whatever reason, we stopped playing. Now, I don't know what is more discerning for me. The fact that they stopped playing, or the fact that he doesn't know the fucking reason why.
That's the scary part.
Yes.
They stop playing, and they don't know why they stopped playing.
Well, because people were tired because you hauled Haley up and played him 5 minutes while people were injured.
Okay, I can understand a little bit of that, but it wasn't like they ran out of gas in the third, right? It wasn't like the jalopy just kind of gave out at the midpoint of the third where I would expect fatigue to set in. No, it was at the beginning of the second period. They just literally let the foot off the gas. You could see them push back. You saw the pushback in the beginning of the second period. And not to mention the 2 goals in a span of 45 seconds. If anything drives me nuts, I don't think anything drives me more nuts than that. Is giving up 2 goals in the span of a minute. That just means that your head is up your ass and you're not paying attention. I
think something else that's important to take note of too is the last time we played, because a lot of people were like, "Well, how did they control McDavid so well the last time we played?" And the answer is because Vlasic was wallpapered to him the whole game.
Yep.
And I think that was a huge. You could see that. I mean, you got to see the speed of McDavid tonight, who just can change gears, and it's just weird how he does it. It looks weird because he's gone.
Yeah, it doesn't even. It's like the kid's got, most players have fast and then the extra gear. It's like he's got the normal speed, which is pretty fast. He's got the extra gear, but just when you think he's done all that he can, he puts it into overdrive.
But he doesn't even change his stride. It's weird. It freaks me out.
Yeah. If you guys look down on DeMello tonight, he was having a hard time tracking McDavid.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it wasn't a good night for any of the defense.
Yeah, but besides Pollock and Dillon, who ended up being even and a plus, and it's probably because of the zone starts. I would venture to guess that they didn't see a lot of the McDavid line. I think
you couldn't. Yeah, I mean, and again, they played the least minutes. They don't play in the same situations the other lines do. I mean, it's just. I don't know if I would go and say they had a good night. They just didn't have They didn't have the same awful night that the rest of the defense corps. I mean, it was just a crappy effort all around. There wasn't. Did you think anyone on the ice had a good night? I didn't think so. I mean, I don't blame Reimer, but I'm certainly not going to call it a good night for him.
Oh no, I don't.
I wouldn't throw this on Reimer totally. This is not one of those games where we would have looked at this and went, Niemi, you suck. It wasn't that kind of a case at all. Now, granted, could he have helped him out with an extra save or two? Sure, but when you
lose 6-2, what's the guys?
Well, yeah, when the guys in front of you are sleepwalking, it's like, what do you like? Honestly, I would have been going into that locker room at second intermission, going, "The fuck are you guys doing?" Hey, dude, guys, what the fuck, man? Let's get some shots on goal here. And enough with this low percentage shit. How many fucking times do we have to see Thornton behind the net with the goal, nobody willing to get into the slot, nobody trying to crash, they're all on the perimeter, you see it kick out to the corner, to the side, to Pavelski, who kicks it up to Burns at the blue line, who just automatically fires it, and it takes, it's a low percentage shot, it either gets blocked, or it gets knocked out to a side, to an Oiler, and boom, they're on the transition going the other way. I am so fucking tired of the low percentage shots coming from the blue line where it seems like nobody wants to. They're like, the slot? What is that?
Right, they just, in that second period, the stark contrast was they were not going to the dirty areas like they were in the first period. Because in the first period, they just smothered Cam Talbot. I mean, Talbot had he had no way to look and see what was going on. I mean, that's why that Pollock goal went in. Pavelski just had a hell of a shot and just sniped it in. But again, you had this kind of fan out style on the power play that really worked for them tonight. And then afterwards, they kind of just stopped. They kind of stopped doing that. Like I said, they stopped playing their game, and then they let the Oilers dictate the play the rest of the game. That's why I said it's probably the worst 2 periods of Sharks hockey that I've seen this year, because it was the most dominating.
Since Winnipeg.
But here's the other thing too, guys, is again we're sitting on a 2-0 lead. We have, thinking, oh, it's Edmonton. We just need to just sit on this lead, go home, and we're leapfrogging Anaheim, and we're pulling in with 3-4 of LA, and we got a playoff spot. We're just gonna sit and just try to win the game 2-0. Ain't gonna happen. As much as Reimer has thrown in his head the last couple of games, just is not gonna happen.
No,
it's not. You need to have that. You need to have that period like they did against Washington, and stay hungry in the third, or
in the second.
Second, no, they need to bring that.
But I'm saying play in the second, play well in the second, and then stay hungry in the third, which has been one of those things that has been awful.
Yeah, how do you forget to stay hungry? That's what I don't get. How do you fucking forget to stay hungry? You've had to, and we're talking about this entire week. LA and Anaheim keep the LA Kings and the Anaheim Ducks have been the politest people on the planet this week. They just keep opening the door, saying, "Come on in, Sharks, come on." And the Sharks are like, "No, we don't need to. No, we're fine." And even though LA and Anaheim, they lose and they open the door, and the Sharks come on in, and the Sharks go, "Nope, we're good."
It's like Goldberg when he was the District 5 goaltender playing the Hawks and the Mighty Ducks. It's like, just take the goal, fine, I don't care, And it's us being the Hawks, and we're just shooting the puck. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah. Eric, you're starting to get a little robotronic there, so maybe
little AOL in the house.
Yeah, a little AOL in the house. Just for everybody, I saw the elbow at the 18:29 mark. Donskoy's last shift was 13:29 in the second period, so he did play a little bit after that, but I didn't see anything really egregious. I didn't really see anything that was to cause you to miss an entire period. So, I think we're gonna start to. Whoa.
Oh wow! Did Eric start driving home from outside?
That might have been me.
So let's kind of close it out. Ian, do you have any final thoughts? You want to pimp anything on Pucknology.net?
Sure. Today on Pucknology, since I kind of talked to some CHL in the chat, I put together an article on Pucknology, and it basically just highlights the series that you want to watch if you're interested in keeping track of how Sharks prospects are doing. The only game tonight that would have saw Sharks prospects ended up getting postponed, which was the opening game of the Barrie Colts versus the Mississauga Steelhead series, which of course the Barrie Colts having Kevin LeBlanc and Dylan Sadoway. So big night of CHL action tomorrow. So there'll be plenty of games to kind of keep an eye on to see how they're doing.
TTG, I think we had some new listeners here from Oilers country. I don't know if you want to pimp out TTG and what's going on there.
Yeah, we also released another thing we released today was the most recent Teal Tinted Glasses podcast, which I happen to be on. For those that don't know, a little bit different than this show, a lot more family friendly. Listen to it with the kids in the car. It's fantastic. If you haven't checked out that, check that out for sure. We did actually a live show on this channel, so if you look in the channel's history, you can find that as well. Other than that, I'm working on a top 20 prospect list for the Sharks that I'm going to be releasing probably before the end of I don't know, it's Easter, so maybe early next week, unless I somehow manage to blow through it. Yeah.
I think we also we want to make a shout out to Aiden Carlson, who joined the team today. He joined the Pucknology.net family. He's going to be writing for us. Don't exactly know where he's going to be writing or what kind of style of writing he's going to be doing yet, but we just wanted to welcome him aboard and say thank you, and hopefully we'll get him on the show sometime. I'm going to kind of give it over to AJ for a minute for his quick recap, and then we're going to talk about the upcoming schedule for the Sharks, and then take it home.
Okay, so quick for those of you who don't know, Pashelka, one of the Sharks beat writers, DeBoer did not have an update on Donskoy, so we're probably not going to find out anything tonight. Hopefully we'll hear something tomorrow. As for that, a couple of people on the Google machine asking what was Star Wars night like tonight, and quickly before we get to that, someone asking was it especially cold tonight? I've been to tonight and the game against St. Louis. It felt maybe 5 degrees colder than normal, maybe just a scotch drier, which to me says, okay, they're on their way, and whatever they're at with the AC and the dehumidifiers, double it, and you'll be perfect. So anyway, with regards to Star Wars night, they actually did a really fun job. It was a lot of fun tonight. When you came into the tank, at every entrance, they had guys dressed up as stormtroopers, Darth Vader, a shit ton of Boba Fett's, let me tell you. Boba Fett's coming all out of the place. And then you had some kids and some a couple of adults, so a few Chewbacca's, one Chewbacca in particular, full on, dude, full blown, like you would have swore he walked out of the fucking movie, Chewbacca wearing a Burns jersey. It was perfect. Yeah, it was awesome with that. And then when they did the opener for the game, just before, when they kill all the lights, and usually they do their little thing on the jumbotron. Instead of the normal thing where they show a bunch of highlights, it was just the Star Wars scroll where it's like, episode game 74 and so on and so forth, which Chester Cheevo did kind of a different version of, but either way, yeah, they opened with a scroll, had a nice little thing with that, and then when they would go to the highlights during TV timeouts and whatnot, when they would show on the times when they would show like past moments where the Sharks were scoring or whatever, everything, the sticks were replaced with lightsabers, and whenever the puck moved over like 10 miles an hour, it looked like a laser blast instead of a puck. So they clearly were doing a lot of post production on that. And then what was really cool is during one of the TV timeouts in the second period, they did this whole bit where Sharky was like running around the tank trying to escape, dressed as Han Solo, running around the tank trying to escape a ridiculous amount of stormtroopers. So, I mean, I thought they did a really good job, but the thing that pisses me off about the whole thing, and maybe I wasn't paying attention, maybe I was in the bathroom, but not once tonight do I remember hearing the Cantina song.
They did get that one. They used there was a little ad sponsor thing where they had the Sharks listen to it and try to guess what the song was, and out of all the guys, only Paul Martin actually got it right.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I didn't notice per se, but other than that, I actually thought they did a really good job with it. I mean, they really got into it. You had at the beginning of the game, you had Sharky taking photos dressed as a Jedi. Then later, when he comes out of the ice, and for the most of the game, he's dressed as Han Solo. So I thought they actually did a really good job with it. The really funny thing was, on the concourse, the kiosks that sell the beer and the liquor and everything like that, at first I saw them in white shirts with black vests, and I'm like, oh my god, they made them all dress up like Han Solo, and I'm like, Oh, wait a minute. No, that's what they normally. They're always dressed like that. Never mind. but it just had that look. Like it just like totally brought it into it, where it's like, oh man, that's so cool. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. But the other cool thing is I saw at least 3 girls that were part of the tank patrol that had the Princess Leia Danish ear
Buns, yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
So yeah, they did a good job.
Okay. Thank you for the update on the Star Wars night. It seemed like it came through pretty cool on TV. You know, you could hear the little Jedi noises when they, were doing replays and stuff, and it came through on the TV, and it was kind of cool to hear that. Yeah, it was probably a great time to bring the kids out and, just have a really good, awesome atmosphere. Too bad, the Sharks just kind of pissed it away. Another thing that was good about tonight, they just kind of ruined it. So. Anyhow, upcoming tomorrow, it's going to be kind of a light schedule in the NHL. There's only going to be 3 games on. There's nothing of note in the Pacific unless you count Vancouver, but, we're not counting Vancouver. Saturday, we shift gears. Dallas is going to be at San Jose. It's a 1 o'clock. Yep, it's a 1 o'clock game. It's still a Saturday night on ice, but it is a 1 o'clock game.
Figure that out.
Yeah. Go figure
Saturday
that one.
night on ice in the UK.
Then
after lunch.
Yeah, Pucknology after lunch. Then you have Anaheim will be at Ottawa. Ottawa's way out of this. I mean, it's going to be another one of those trap games for Anaheim, but they did clinch tonight, and they've kind of been on a spiral a little bit. So you just got to wonder and got to hope that they continue to not find their game. And then you have Edmonton at Los Angeles, which, if they play anything like they played tonight, maybe they have a shot at beating LA. And LA hasn't looked nearly as invincible as they have, in the last few, the last week before. Sunday, nothing really going on. Again, Vancouver, but again, they're, whatever.
What do you mean nothing going on? It's Easter, bitch.
Well, no, I mean, from an NHL perspective, we've got 3 games on the docket. Chicago at Vancouver is the only thing of the Pacific Division, but again, that's pretty locked up. It might be interesting to see how Chicago kind of plays out, though, because they'll be on the second of a back-to-back. They've got Calgary, and then they're doing Vancouver, so they're doing the Western Canada swing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll got to see where Chicago kind of
Crawford to get back in the lineup.
Yeah. Ian, what do they call Easter up there? Is it like midget boxing day or
Easter?
They have Jesus Christ in Canada. You do know
That's
that.
true.
Right?
No matter what conservatives tell you, it's not a completely godless land.
No. Clearly, Jesus hit there first because that's where hockey's from, bitches.
That's right.
That's true. Anaheim plays Edmonton on Monday. Sharks have that big matchup against Los Angeles. You know what?
Oh, and remember, the Los Angeles game is where we will find out what the new goal song is. And that is if you can hear it.
That is if you can hear it.
Or if we score goals.
A couple of things too. Landy, on Saturday, what time is the Arizona Flyers game?
Oh, that's a good point. Arizona and Philadelphia will be playing at 7 o'clock Pacific time. Arizona will play host to Philadelphia. So we've got that to look forward to. If Arizona does lose on Saturday, the Sharks will clinch a playoff spot. If Arizona continues on their torrid pace, the Sharks will have to win. Even if Arizona loses in overtime, the Sharks will still have to gain a point of some kind to clinch their spot. Well, for the Pucknology.net crew for Pucknology After Dark, I'm Eric Landy. That's Ian Reed. That's Puck Guy 14 and AJ Strong. Please subscribe to the videocast, and if you want to catch some great Sharks content, and we do cover some NHL content, but Pucknology.net is kind of a one-stop shop. Yeah, we've got more writers on board. We've got more interesting topics coming on, and you're starting to see some other publications that won't be named kind of picking up some of our stories. But hey, it's what it is. Anyhow, from all of us to all of you, thank you for tuning in.
Happy Easter.